Thank you.
All right, greetings everyone. Captain Tayo, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
All right, that's fine. Thank you so much. I'm wishing everyone a happy new year, a prosperous new year. And as Captain Busayo said, it's a year of new level, you know, changing levels, right? So that's it. To start this class, I think it's important that we learn from mistakes of other people. I think that's where wisdom is, when we learn from the mistakes of other people. I got information about two incidents towards the end of last year, shocking incidents that we don't expect to have happened. And I would like us to, of course, the full details are not out yet, so we don't have the facts as is. However, we need to start discussing it. We need to start talking about incidents, accidents, how it happens, what would the root cause, and how we can prevent it. That's the most important. It's unfortunate that in a country like Nigeria, we don't have a body that will that produces or make public most of these high-profile incidents in the maritime industry. But anyway, we will not rest on our horses. We will continue to learn internally until things change and we have things, this information in public. So the first one I will talk about is grounding incident by two boats following each other and went aground. I think that's in Port Harcourt area, between One and Port Harcourt. So I don't know if anybody has heard about this incident. I would encourage you to add to it at some point if the narrations is not correct, or if anybody's on board the vessel as well, that might help. So this incident is there's a convoy with the security boats and two vessels, from heading from One, I believe, or from Bonny to Port Harcourt. I understand that they had their passage plan sent by the organization to them. I also would expect that there is a passage plan from the ships. So, each ship will have their own passage plan, right? And the idea is that, even if one is making mistake, the other will be correct. But what happened at the end of the day was the two vessels, because of course they are bigger draft, that are escorted, went aground. The security vessels were still afloat. In my mind, what I think is that they were following the security vessels. I don't know, maybe they forgot that the security vessels are very shallow draft. There's a difference between escort and pilot boat. Even if they are not familiar and the security vessel is the familiar vessel to where they are going, that is why you have your passage plan, you have your echo sounder, you have a lot of things. You have a position on the charts to keep plotting your positions. And this is very important. Recently, I've been going on vessels. I've been asking them to show me the charts in the port areas. Yeah, they will show me, yeah, they have the waypoint, they have the routes. And I say, okay, where is the positions in which you use in entering the port? Because it's a short trip, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour, there are no positions on this chart. This is not good for deck officers. So I want the deck officers listening to me today to understand that it is not professional at all. I've noticed that there are no positions, there are no-go areas, there's no position plotting intervals on these charts, at the entrance or the port above area charts. So those things have to stop in 2021. We cannot take it into 2022. We need to be professional. So these two vessels went aground. They were following, I think that's what I can think. They were following the security vessel. So the security vessel definitely went into shallow areas, and they until they were on the beach, really went aground. They had to be towed out, and luckily they were rescued at high water. So they went aground at shallow, at low tide, and at high tide they were able to rescue them. What would have happened if they went aground at high water? That would be a disaster, because they would have to wait for high water. That one happened probably. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. And this is vessels whereby the old deck bridge complements are on the bridge. So if, for example, you're going to a new area, you have the captain on the bridge, the chief mate on the bridge, the second mate on the bridge, and the vessel went aground, I cannot understand it. What is the OOW doing? Who is plotting positions? Who is, checking? Who is checking? What happened to the echo sounder? What is the alarm limits that you set on your echo sounder? What is your under queue clearance from the company? Did you set the gain of your echo sounder properly? All those things. Are you in the channel? Are you distracted? A lot of questions. Did the vessel actually have a passage plan? So these are, disciplines I would really want us to take on board, in 2022. I understand if you're in a vessel whereby people don't do these things and you start doing it, and people will think, oh yeah, he wants to do eye service or over sabi, or you want to be forming IMO standard and all that. But when things like this happen and you are the second officer or the chief officer, then it's going to be disappointing. Then what is the point of having a license? So I don't know if anybody has heard about this incident, or somebody that was on board. I would like us to think through it. Let's reason together. How can we prevent this? I know I've mentioned few things, but I want the young officers, intending officers, new officers to come up with solutions, so that when you say it, when you go on board, it's different. You won't. These habits, we just have to stop it, or we have to improve on it. So let me see. Beatrice, you heard a bit of my narration. What do you think would have cost, two vessels on convoy to both go aground, without any of the officers on any of the vessels knowing that they were going aground? At least in my mind, I think there will be like 6 officers, minimum 4, at least 2 on each vessels, but it's possible of 6 vessels. So what could have cost 6 officers not to realize that their vessels were going aground?
Okay, from the narration, this is my thought, that there was no voyage plan. What I think they did was to send a voyage plan that they have previously done. They just edit and send to the office. They did not actually do a plan. And that voyage plan must have been there for years. And also, there was no monitoring. They were not plotting their positions while on the voyage. Because if they were, they would have observed that the depth is changing from where they are or where they are going, that there's a change in depth of the water. So they will see it on the chart. So they were not, first of all, there was no voyage plan. Then secondly, there was not even monitoring. If they even bring out the chart, it will just to know maybe where they are, but they are not actually plotting their positions and checking where they are actually passing through.
Thank you, Beatrice. Thanks for that. I like those comments. You know, these are habits that I feel we need to change in this year. You have a previous passage plan. Things could have changed. Buoys could have moved. Channel could be dredged. And as rightly said, it doesn't mean we should just use the previous one. Of course, we can learn from the previous ones, but it doesn't mean we should just swallow it and not even review it. And guess what? If you look at the passage plan, everybody will sign it. They will just sign it, but reviewing it and all that. NA, is there anything you would like to add that you feel was not done? November Alpha. Okay. Osman, are you there? Don't be shy. You're on mute though, if you can hear me. November Alpha and Osman, can you hear me? Okay, maybe not. All right, so another thing is the echo sounder. I've been on vessels recently in port, and the echo sounder has been kept at 100 meters, some 60 meters, some 40. But the 100 meters one was shocking. You know, what do you want to catch in port when your echo sounder is 100 meters? Because, you know, and these things also have to be practiced on I remember, you know, we used to write it on the chart, where to switch on echo sounder and where to switch off echo sounder. You know, so the fact that you go for inspections, yeah, so NA has typed, I guess it can't speak where he is. He said they weren't monitoring the echo sounder, especially the range. Well, thanks. You know, that's a very strong, that's a very, what I've been seeing recently during vessel inspections. I just go to the echo sounder. And sometimes it's even off. And by the time you switch it on, you see it at 100 meters. I've told some of second officers, I say, next time I see your vessel with echo sounder at 100 meters, I will first knock your head before I write it down as a defect, or I will flog you first. You know, it doesn't speak well that we are having things like this. We are dealing with this. It's not professional at all. Now, we cannot be following blindly. Even though you're on convoy, you have to understand the vessel in which you're on convoy. If security vessel that is leading you, probably is the draft is 0.5. Your own draft is maybe 5 meters. The fact that another is it's not a pilot boat, for Christ's sake. They are not there to lead you. They are there to escort. So we cannot just, you know, follow them line and sinker. It's really shocking, to be honest. It's beyond it. How do you explain that you have a license and you went aground because you are following a security vessel? For me, it's still a no. It is a no. And I'm not making this incident up. And these are real incidents that happened within our waters. Okay, I don't have the name of the vessels, and I don't have all the entire facts, but these are things that happen. It will be shocking, or so it will be even more ridiculous if they went aground in high water. I don't want to imagine that. Okay, so that's a bit about the going aground incident. There is another incident I would like to talk about, and this one is very, 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 very important. We take note of it. It's a collision incident, a collision accident. Some of you guys might have heard about it as well. Again, as I said, the facts and all the figures are not yet out, but for two vessels to collide at sea, you can be beginning to imagine. So this is between one very fast vessel and another fast vessel, will be going at a speed of about 15 to 20 knots, and another vessel going at about 7 knots. From what I understand is that it happened around evening, around night. So sometimes during time for dinner. Okay, one of the vessels was leaving anchorage, going to a destination, and the other vessel was leaving that destination. Where vessel A is going to position B, vessel C is leaving position B, and two of them collided at top speed. And I think unfortunately led to fatality as well. Let me see, without even saying so much, Umar, what do you think could have caused this kind of accident?
Please, sir, can you repeat the illustration?
Okay, so vessel A is at anchor. She just heaved up her anchor, and she was proceeding to a position B, right? Vessel A is going to position B at about 7 knots. Vessel C is leaving position B. That same position vessel A is going. Vessel B is leaving that same position at about 15 knots. And at the middle, somewhere between, before getting to their destination, the two vessels collided.
So I should state the probable reason.
Yes, probable reasons. Of course, you don't have the facts. You just hear this. What do you think could have caused that kind of accident?
That means the C target was going to the same way this A was going to.
There's that possibility.
If it was different ways, they will not meet.
Okay, if they were going to the same position, but it's at sea.
No, they were going opposite direction, like something like head on.
Okay, yeah. Then what would have now made them collide?
It should be any probable reason for collision. Maybe not properly keeping watch and all.
So automatically you are going to the right direction. There was no lookout.
Yes.
You understand? It's it's the first thing that you would imagine. Rule 5. There was no lookout. If you go back to the grounding incident again, I want us in 2022 to, this attitude of now so we dey do am. We've always done it like that. We know this field. We know this water very well. We know it. This is the way I've been in this field. I've been in this area for 10 years, 15 years, blah, 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 blah. We need to stop that attitude when it comes to our operation. We need to approach things with fresh pair of eyes every time we are getting into it. So in this scenario, one of the things I could deduce is complacency, complacency. Oh, I'm leaving Anchor, I'm going to that place. I've been going there every time, maybe 3-4 times a day. And I've been doing it for the past 3 years. It's not just to go there. Not knowing that that day, there's something coming from that same direction as well. I would also imagine that probably the officer that after picking up Anchor, I don't know how many people were on the bridge, but the people there maybe got a bit distracted to say, okay, let me quickly go and fill the logbook, or let me go and do something, and they did not keep lookout. Also, it is evening, so towards the hour of darkness, around sunset. So we can look at it. What about the navigation lights? Was it switched on yet? Or is it still the anchor light that was on? So the other vessel might think she's still at anchor. Well, if the navigation lights are switched on, do the other vessel, do the vessels understand this navigation light, the meaning? That's another thing to think about. But people will just see light. Do they understand what it means or not? So we can see where the failure comes in. Was the navigation light switched on? Was it changed? So you go on some vessels, you check their AIS, and the AIS is still showing on their way, making way, and they're in port. They've not changed the AIS status for the last maybe 1 month. I've seen vessels in ports that don't even bother switching off their navigation lights. They keep it like that on their way. Because the captain says that if you change it, if you switch it off, people will forget. Officers will forget. So I don't know how we change over watch if you forget light. In my time, I remember that once you come into the bridge, the first thing you go and check, you go outside of the bridge wing, you look left, you look at the light, you go to your spot, you look at the light, you go to starboard, you look at the light. You actually peep and see that, yes, you can see the navigation lights yourself. Those are part of your handover. If you look at your handover checklist, those things are there. So checklist is not there for us it's not mindless, like people do mindless scrolling on social media. So checklist is not about it's not mindless. It's something that we have to, is there to guide us. And we should not be checklist monkeys also anyway. So there to guide us. But I really want us to push on our weights this year. I really would like to see professional officers, Nigerian officers or wherever the country. I want us to be professional in what we do. I know I've been saying this professional very well, but I will keep saying it there so that, there's confidence. It will be sad that one of your crew lose their life because you are not keeping lookout. I don't know how you live with that for the rest of your life. So anyway, I think the people there will really feel very bad. They will be traumatized. It will be hard to forgive themselves. And this thing really happened. So complacency, navigation lights, navigation equipment, understanding navigation lights, lookouts. And I even understood that by the time of the collision, the vessel did not even know that they've collided. One of the vessel, the bigger vessel did not know he has collided with the smaller vessel. So they were still going at 7 knots after collision. You can imagine that. They heard the sound of the collision and they felt it was their anchor. Maybe the anchor was just resting properly. That sound. Boom. And they were still going for 7 at 7 knots for a couple of minutes, maybe for another 10 minutes. So what kind of attitude, do we have on bridge? it is not it is not what we want in our waters. It is not how we should be operating. Yes, there can be different reasons. You can be distracted. You can have problems from home. But during those 4 to 6 hours watches we keep on the bridge, I would really encourage us to take those times as what it is, being responsible deck officers with the lives of those people, everybody sleeping on your vessel in your hands, and the lives of the other vessels that you will be you'll be meeting, they're also in your hands. So I feel that this is a very important way to start the year, to start our classes, because we don't want people to go and get COC and lose them, or make people lose their lives because somebody has a COC, or become a disaster. I understand now that a lot of IOCs are beginning to do exams, oral exams, competency exams, DP exams. A lot of them are now looking into navigation because of things like this, to actually understand. So if you are, I met one of the officers that was for an exam in one of the IOCs, and he was asking, he was saying that, well, they have their COC now, and all that. I said, if you are a soldier, won't you be practicing how to shoot your gun, your weapons? Won't you be practicing it? So if you are a deck officer, you should be proud to keep reading your navigation, your corex, your stability for your vessel. You don't just sit there for 6 hours and do nothing. We need to keep sharpening our saw. They say if you want to cut a tree, spend enough time sharpening your saw, and it will help the tree you'll be able to cut it quickly. So guys, I think I've said a lot already, and I want us to pass this message round. So the bridge is not yes, we can have fun, we can gossip, we can plan. I know the guys are always thinking, not always, but mostly thinking about their girlfriends. Maybe the girls, I don't know what they're thinking, maybe their boyfriends. It can be quiet, it can be boring, but we need the lives of the people on that ship at that time is in our hands. And that's why we are responsible. So I would maybe get Captain Joshua and Captain Busaya if they have anything to add to this, so that we make sure we don't, we pass this message to all our colleagues, that we don't have repeated accidents of such in 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Captain Tayo. That was really an eye-opener to so many of us. And I think it's just like Beatrice said, and Uma also was correct, is negligence of duty. We all come down to the knowledge or reality that we've been doing it for over a long time, so we can just continue going. But you will not know when, you will get caught up in all this as well. I think the major lessons from everything Captain Tayo has tried to let us know is practice what you study. There's one thing for us to go and try and pass our certificate of competency, orals, examination, the written examination, and then we go on board and we follow what other people are doing and not practice what we know. So it's a scenario of just like Captain Tayo tried to let us know, a scenario of you know what to do, but because you don't want people to say you are performing eye service or you're trying to be smarter, then you try and keep the knowledge of what you know. It's not supposed to be like that. So in our ships and our vessels, there's really something we should just tell ourselves: we are professionals. And one thing I like to say is, yeah, this might sound absurd, but you are also representing your country on the ship, to be honest. If you are, I mean, if you are going on an international trade and something happens, if you check the MEIB reports, most of the things people like to check is what's the nationality. And you hear some people, oh, is this people, is this country? Forget it, or is that country? No wonder. Or is this country where they bring cheap labor? No wonder. Or is this country where they have? I just don't want to mention countries, but we know what it says. So you going on board, especially when you are the mixed nationality on board, you still represent your country, and your professionality really brings out the best as well. So please look out from the second accident that Captain Tayo tried to let us know. That is why the Corec really tries to put more emphasis on lookout. That is why if you fail on lookout questions and the orals, which is collision regulation, I'm not sure the examiner is going to be happy to give you a COC. Because these are the emphasis that we look out as well. This is really emphasis why we are really staying on the ship. I remember when I was a cadet, the first accident that I witnessed was I was on a tanker, we were fully loaded with AMS, that's petrol, and we were at anchor at Lagos Anchorage, Nigeria, and then there was just another tanker right ahead of us. Well, in the middle of the night, I was going to watch the AP and the officer watch, in quotes, on watch. And what happened was I was just hearing noises, and there's a big bang, it's banged, and then the vessel shakes. And that was how I had the experience of how it looks like when you're having a collision. So the both vessels, the hull hits each other. It's a big bang, and then you see the vessel shakes, and because of course the wind and the tide and the wind, it keeps going back, it bounces off and go back and bounces off. Then we all rushed up to the bridge, and we found out that our vessel was just alongside the other tanker as well. And STS, unplanned STS. When I mean STS, that's ship-to-ship transfer, where two vessels come together to transfer cargoes. And that was it. When did this operation start? Well, it was not an operation. What was happening was the tanker right ahead was dragging. And it kept dragging. And the guy on my own tanker was whether he was asleep, but he wasn't conscious of the distance of the other guy coming down. So all of a sudden, the next thing we heard was, "Oh, Captain, that's telling us your vessel drag." And we're like, I replied, "Have you ever seen a vessel dragging forward?" Vessels drag, when they drag with their anchor, you see them dragging back, and there was a back and forth. But the root cause of this was there was no lookout. So even in the first scenario as well, if there's proper lookout, you'll be, and lookout is not just by sight. It's by sight, it's by hearing, and every other means, which is our navigational equipment that we have on board. So please, this is an appeal to our own students. This is not just about we get the COC, but no, about going on board to really practice what we learn. Go on board the vessels, try and just keep up the standard. Try and let them know, oh, this is your standard. When Officer Umar comes, he doesn't like any other thing than keeping it straight. When Officer Beatrice comes, this is our own standard. And that is the standard that we ourselves from small cell we can enlarge, and everybody will just follow suit, and they take proper direction from us. So that would be my own contribution. Let's practice what we study. And the more we practice it, you see that the more we become even perfect, more perfect in it. And we should, as we are looking at, going international, going for international trading. When I mean international trading, I mean going outside Nigeria or outside your own country that you are joining us from now to work. You face diverse nationalities, you face diverse rules, but there's one thing that will always remain the same: the standard. What's the standard in collusion regulation? It doesn't change. But how have you been practicing it? If you've not been practicing it, when you come down there, if you come down to, I have a friend who is currently now in Qatar, some of them in Aramco, and they have been in Nigeria. The only place they've been flying for the past 15 years was Nigeria on airports down to offshore. But now they are all out there now in the world, and like, so there's so much new things I need to learn. There's nothing new. They are all practicing the same thing. It's just because we have not been practicing all this while you are just in your on-air routes. So don't let's look at it as just on-air routes, Lagos outside bar, Anchorage. Let's give it an international standard. And to be honest, like I said, the practice it will become perfect, perfect in it, and we will not be hearing such accidents or incidents from our own students as well. Captain Joshua is in the house. You have anything to say, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Captain Afolabi, and our maybe low budget bishop. Nobody has said it all, and I really appreciate the contribution from Beatrice and Umar. So both incidents are actually avoidable, and you've all pointed out what are meant to be done. And just like what Captain Tayo said, it's not just for you to get the COC, it's for you to practice what you have learned, what you have been taught in school. It's not about you just getting the COC. Yeah, I'm an officer now. Right now, I have a cadet on board who has been on board for the past 8 months. On getting on board, I asked him, what have you been learning for this past 8 months? And he was just blabbing. I said, oh, have you gone through the Mariner's Handbook, Bridge Procedure Guide, your rules of the road? Have you been going through them? He was just blabbing. And it's so pathetic. I could remember when I was cadet, I went through the Mariner's Handbook twice. I completed Mariner's Handbook twice before I went for my COC. But it's strange now. The officers we are now producing, I don't understand what is going on now. We find it very difficult to study and to practice what we have studied. So I had to give him some assignments and for him to read some passages of the Bridge Procedure Guides, asking questions, and within a month that I've spent with him now, I think it's catching up. And that is one of the assignments for we, the senior officers on board. Captain Tayo has been doing that. Captain Afolabi has been doing that when they were on board. I've met some of their cadets and their second officers, and I know the testimonies I got from them. So I just want to encourage us as well. When we get on board, you have these cadets, please let us try to encourage them to study. It's not just for us to ask them to just keep bridge watch for nothing. Let's try to encourage them. And how do we encourage them? If we ourselves are not studying, how will they study? Let us lead by example. By studying ourselves, when they see you studying, they will also want to emulate their senior officers. So let's lay good example for the upcoming guys, so that when they see us, they will want to emulate us. A lot of guys that work with Captain Flavi and Captain Tayo, they have been telling me, I want to be like them. So I want us also to have this attitude that those coming after you will look up to you and say, I would like to be like Officer Beatrice, Captain Beatrice. I would love to be like Captain Umar. How would they want to be like you if you don't lay good example? So, apart from what Captain Tayo and Captain Falabia have said regarding watch keeping, maintaining position, proper passage plans, and all those things, our culture on board, our culture should also let us maintain this culture on board that every other people will want to emulate. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Captain Joshua. I'm sure we all have been able also to learn from Captain Joshua's contribution as well. It's more study. We need to even do more study, and let's try to encourage others to study as well. I will leave the floor open before I make some final recommendations. Does everybody have any question to ask about this or any contribution? Omar, Patrick, N.A., Beatrice. Beatrice, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any questions as regards to all this? Have you been in any situation before where you want to practice what you want to do what you want to do, but you know your superiors are not just practicing it and you feel intimidated?
Yes, several times, and you just end up not doing it, especially when it comes to, okay, for instance, the voyage planning, because they have been using that particular route. They feel is something they know, so they may not permit you to go ahead and do a proper voyage plan for that particular voyage. So they'll just impute the waypoint which they have previously and then go along with it.
That's not a good recommendation that will be passing on. But looking at, I mean, you'll be getting your CLC soon. What will you think you would like to change when you see yourself in that position again?
Okay, so if I'm there as a second mate or as an officer, I will ensure that we just do things the proper way that it ought to be done. Like if you're going on a voyage, you do a proper voyage plan, you check your positions, just do what ought to be done rather than cutting corners, like always looking for a shortcut to things.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I think it's always a big task at the beginning, and to be honest, as you get going, the task becomes easier, especially when you stand on following the standard procedure. And what I like to say is, whatever you are doing now, you are only doing it not just for today, but you are preparing yourself for your tomorrow that awaits you, because you might not just know where you're going to see yourself tomorrow as well. So just like Captain Joshua and Captain Tayo said, these things have been standard that they've been putting in place, but it's now you see them already in positions where they have to ensure that these standards are implemented. So how are you going to implement standard that you yourself you have not followed when you were a junior officer? So it starts like that. It starts with that motive in your mindset that no, I'm not doing it just for today. I'm not doing it for this contract. I'm doing it for where I will find myself as well. I have several instances, but I'll just pause there. Now, I'll give one instance. One instance is the plant maintenance system on a company I and Captain Joshua, we've worked but at different times. But the plant maintenance system, it can just be a paper exercise, and I'm sure so many people have been in that situation where you just tick the exercise, so it's been done for the month of January, for the month of February, for the month of March. And that has been the exercise, that has been the precedence that I've seen prior to me joining. But then when I came, it was like, no, this is not right. Because even at the end of the day, I will not even know what exactly I'm supposed to check. Let's say, for instance, I'm supposed to check the fire extinguisher, but I just go there, people, some of us will know what I'm talking about. If you have the safety officer of your vessel, we have a tag January, February, March, April. And at the end of the month, we just go there with the blue marker, red marker, or green marker, whichever color that you want to choose, and tick. It's done. But what did you check? What exactly did you check on that extinguisher? Because some extinguishers might just even be expired, some might not even be usable, and we have just ticked it, and that tradition has just been there for a long time. But there's one thing that I found out. The more I really wanted to find out what exactly we're checking and really check it properly, the more I became a better inspector or an auditor when I took up auditor's role years later. So I'm talking of 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, doing all my proper checks on the fire extinguisher. Now I'm going on all those vessels now to go and do inspections on, for instance, this fire extinguisher. I know what exactly I'm looking for, and I know what has gone wrong. And unfortunately, one of my own ships where I was doing those fire checks, I went there for inspection, and the second officer has ticked it down from January to September. But guess what? The fire extinguisher has expired. What are you ticking? Is it just a paper exercise or what? And you're like, oh, Oga, sorry, I didn't know. No, this is not, this one, I'm going to really follow up with this one a lot. So this is also to us, this is not just to be a paper exercise. Prepare yourself for tomorrow. You will know what you are checking as well. Captain Tayo also, in one or two of his job roles, he can ask for he can ask for the from the vessel, their passage planning. If he had not put much time in passage planning when he was an officer, when he was a cadet, what does he want to check when they bring him a passage plan to inspect or to audit? So these are the practices that we will put in today, not just for today, but in preparation for where we are going to be tomorrow. Thank you, Beatrice. I hope you get that.
Yes, sir.
Uma, let me come to you. You have any doubts or questions or contributions regarding that?
No, negative, sir. Negative, sir. You've done well, sir.
And so that will be expecting the Egyptian standard on your vessel, correct?
Yes, sir.
That would be great as well. And just like Beatrice said, there might be times when you might be intimidated, but you should really push through ahead as well. All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Captain Tayo, for opening our eyes to this great lecture. And on the accidents, I really feel with the officers involved because I can know the trauma, one, the stigma, two, and of course, the stress that they'll be going through with the paperwork now. But for us to really excuse ourselves from those stress, let's try and take Captain Tayo's advice today, this evening. All right, it will be another official lovely class next week. I don't